I'm Bruce Krinke. I lived in Faribault for a number of years and been a fan of Bruce Smith and his career for a number of years. And I've been chairman of the Bruce Smith Golf Committee for about 23 to 25 years. It's been a lot of fun.
This is Logan Ledman. I'm really excited to introduce to you all today a very special continuation of the interview series that we've been doing recently, digging back into the archives for some of the historical interviews that we have. This one is really special to us. It was one of our earliest ones. In 2015, we knew that Bruce Smith was going to be one of the stories we would tell. He was an extraordinary man, the only student of a Minnesota college to win the Heisman Trophy in collegiate football. And his story continues after college as well, his time in the service, the interactions and impact he had on people after his time in the service and before his tragic death from cancer is also extraordinary. And we'll talk about that in this interview. Bruce Smith has, still to this day, an immense cultural legacy in Faribault, Minnesota, where he's from. And part of the reason why has been the efforts of people like Bruce Krinke, who we interviewed in 2015 to talk about Bruce Smith. Bruce Krinke was extraordinarily involved in a number of aspects of Faribault's cultural life in the last 40 years, really, even longer than that. And his passion for understanding and appreciating just a small town in southern Minnesota was really incredible. And so he talked with us about Bruce Smith in 2015. I'll provide some commentary throughout, but for now, sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
Actually, when I came to Faribault, I didn't even know Bruce Smith. I didn't know who he was or what he was all about. And somebody asked me if I would be a member of the Bruce Smith Golf Committee back in the early 1900s, and that's what got me started on Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith graduated from Faribault High School in 1938, I believe. So if he was 18 years old or 17, depending upon, well, his birthday was in August, he was probably 17. He was probably in the early 1920s when he was born. He was born in Faribault. I can't tell you the exact street where he lived, but he was in Faribault. As far as I know, he was pretty down-to-earth, what I'm told, pretty down-to-earth guy. He was very talented athletically, obviously, but he was pretty well down-to-earth. I think there was 5 brothers and sisters of Lucius Smith, the dad, and probably a normal kid, other than being a very good athlete, obviously.
After our introduction to Bruce Smith, we turn the conversation towards Bruce Smith's family, and especially his father, Lucius Smith.
Lucius was an attorney, and he was attorney in Faribault for a number of years. He was at the bank board at the State Bank of Faribault for a number of years. I didn't ever know Lucius personally, but I understand that he was, and I think he lived over 100 years old age, so he did pretty well in lifetime. I don't know too much. I knew Lucius went to the University of Minnesota and probably, I don't know if he went past that for law school, but he also played football. And back then, players weren't very big. I think I saw a story, he played at 140 pounds, maybe he was a guard. And that was probably typical of athletes back then, or football players back then. I don't think he had the career, in fact, I know he didn't have the career that Bruce Smith did at the University of Minnesota.
We were ready for the conversation to move towards Bruce Smith's time at the University of Minnesota.
Well, he won a lot of awards at the University of Minnesota. He was the first number of 54 was retired at the university. He was the first number to be retired at the university. We made a bust to Bruce Smith and presented at the university not too long ago. There's a jersey was hanging in the Beerman building at the University of Minnesota. So a lot of awards there and pictures of Bruce Smith around the university, signifying the only one that went to the university and won the Heisman Trophy. Pretty significant. I think the one play that I always heard of that he was against Michigan, he made about an 80-yard run against Michigan, and that kind of won him, people say, the Heisman Trophy that year. Although he had a great year, a great 2 years. He won the national championship in 1940 and 1941. And probably that play, some people say, got him the Heisman Trophy. I don't think one play would get you a Heisman Trophy. I think it's a culmination of a whole year or years leading up to that year. He was a 3-sport athlete. He went to Faribault High School, and I know in his senior year, he played football, obviously. He was on the golf team, also on the basketball team. And then that probably was a little unusual, 3-sport athlete back then. but he was a very gifted athlete. Went to the University of Minnesota. That was the only school that he went to, and graduated from the university, and then went on to play professional football. And he went to play for not only the Green Bay Packers, but the Los Angeles Rams in a very short career for professional football. He was a running back, but at the University of Minnesota, he was a running back. He played defense too, because a lot of them played both ways, and he was the punter of the Gophers as well. In the pros, they wanted him to be a defensive back, and he wanted to be a running back. And then when he get hurt, they kind of ended his playing career. So it was pretty short. I think it was 3 or 4 years as a professional. I think as a running back, I mean, he obviously when you play defense as well, but I think offensively as a running back, that was the formation that he liked to run out of and was best known for at the university. I think if you were to talk to Bruce Smith today, he said Bernie Buhn. Bernie was the coach at the university at the time, and he was the one that is well known, well respected to this day, and molded his career, helped him along, and made him probably what he was as a great running back. Well, now it's the Big Ten, Minnesota the Big Ten, but Michigan was one of the big schools that they went, and also in Iowa. Iowa was a neighboring school, neighboring state, another big rival. Probably in 1940-41, they were national championships back then, the Gophers were. And so I think he made his mark back then, probably in 40 and 41. Probably not as much as, because the media is different now but it was then. One of the stories I read was I think it was 1941, they traveled by train. They were going down to Iowa to play the Iowa Hawkeyes. And the high school here found out that the train was going to stop in Faribault, and they wanted to they were going to send the band down, and about 1,000 people down to the depot and meet Bruce Smith, their hero from Faribault, from the Gophers. So they contacted the train company, and whatever the train's name was, I don't really know. The train did stop, but they stopped only to pick up Lucius Smith. They didn't have enough time to let Bruce get off and say anything to the band and the 1,000 people that were down by the depot. They came down, picked up Lucius, and left about 1,000 people disappointed. Well, he won the Heisman, which is the biggest award. He was named the Outstanding Athlete of the Year. I think he got that award in Chicago before he received the Heisman Trophy, and his number retired. And I don't know how you can get any better awards than winning the Heisman, having your number retired. That's pretty good, pretty special. He received it, I'll give you the exact date, December 9th in 1941. He received it in New York. He took a train from Minnesota to New York, stopped in Chicago to get another award, and received it 2 days after Pearl Harbor. And so on the way, he had written a speech thanking the Downtown Athletic Club of New York for the high honor. Pearl Harbor hits on December 7th. He rewrites the speech and then goes to New York to give the speech after Pearl Harbor started. It was actually broadcast on radio, so how many people were listening? Actually, the President of the United States gave a declaration of war after the speech, so maybe quite a few for back in that time, not nearly what it would be today. But it was like he had like 10 minutes to give a speech, and the president declaring war on Japan. Pretty big. He ended up in the Navy after his college career, ended up as a Navy fighter pilot, which a lot of people did, volunteered for the service in one way. So he was in the Navy. So.
After the war, Bruce Smith's newfound fame and popularity led to the creation of a film known as Smith of Minnesota.
Smith of Minnesota. It was less than a quality movie, I was told by some of the family members. In fact, his sister told me, she said, it just wasn't very good. Well, I'll take her word for it. So Smith was about a small town, Minnesota was about a small town, Faribault guy, obviously. Had an athletic career and what went on and went in service and was a hero. Maybe the family was being a little hard on them, but he played himself in the movie. He moved to Faribault, but I know he ended up in Alexandria. I think he ordered a beverage distributorship up there, up in Alexandria when he was up there. What else he did, I'm not quite sure. He passed away at a very young age. In 1967, August 28th, he passed away of cancer. He had cancer for about the last year of his life, and his body deteriorated. It kind of overtook his body. Back then, there wasn't a lot of cures, even in the 60s, for cancer to take care of you. So he went around in the last years of his life talking about cancer, talking about life in general, I believe, and passed away in August of 1967. From what I heard, he went down and talked, he spoke with Father Cantwell, who had nominated him for sainthood. Yeah. Father Cantwell nominated him for sainthood, which didn't happen and may or may not happen. But Father Cantwell was maybe a mentor back then and helped him through his cancer until the end of his life. He thought he'd gone through so much. I'm not sure the requirements for sainthood, but he thought what he had gone through what he had done, and what he had meant to his life, he thought that was deserving of him being nominated. He is the only one to win the Heisman that went to a Minnesota school. There's others that have gone to, like Florida State and won the Heisman that came from Minnesota, but the only one that went to the University of Minnesota or any of the Minnesota school and has won the Heisman. So Faribault can say we have the only one that came from, that won the Heisman from a Faribault community school.
Finally, we asked Bruce Krinke some questions about himself.
I live in Faribault. I've lived here for maybe 50 years or so. Yeah. I think Faribault's a good town. Any town that you go to is going to have issues, going to have things, and there's growing pains, and obviously the community has changed in the last 15 years. It's grown and changed, and sometimes bringing change is hard for some people to deal with. I think if you look at overall the community, what community has, the council has put amenities in town like bike trails, walking paths, Alexander Park, Bruce Smith Field, named after Bruce Smith. We have a lot to be proud of, and people should look at the positive things in Faribault and not some of the other things sometimes. A friend of mine, Dave Henry, and I went up to the University of Minnesota, up to the Bierman building one day, and we saw a couple of busts of not Bernie Bierman, but Bronco Nagurski, a famous gopher. And we didn't see a bust of Bruce Smith. And there was another one up there, and I don't remember who it was. And I said, there's only one Heisman Trophy winner, and there's nothing up here or it isn't enough to recognize him. And we started talking to football coaches, athletic directors about doing something. And we got people like Ivan Willick on board to create a bust with the help of the family. We've got sponsors that said, we'll help you get that all done. And it just kind of snowballed. And it was just a wonderful project. Took me 3 or 4 years to get it all done. Very worthwhile project. It's made it special. And then being part of the Bruce Smith Golf Committee, having fun with that name. And then we turn the money around and give it back to the schools in Faribault, high school, Bethlehem Academy, School for the Deaf. So we do something that's worthwhile under the name of Bruce Smith. I think it's important to learn about history of Faribault. And if you learn about history about Alexander Faribault, Bishop Whipple, maybe Bruce Smith should be part of that conversation as well.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you. You guys are good.
In September of 2016, Sam and I hosted a little celebration at the Rice County Historical Society to celebrate a year of producing documentaries in Faribault. And one of the most delightful parts of that event was hosting a live interview with Bruce Krinke, one of our favorite people and one of our earliest friends and supporters. So this is that interview that was conducted in September of 2016 with Bruce Krinke. Enjoy.
Bruce, thanks for joining me today. First of all, let's just go right into our questions about you.
All right.
What was your life like growing up?
I grew up on a farm out in southwestern Minnesota. And when I was 15, I had no clue what was going on. And I'm amazed at what you guys could do. But I was raised in a farm. We did chores. We were allowed to play sports in high school. But we worked on a farm. Sometimes hard, sometimes not. So.
All right. What were you interested in as a teenager? You mentioned you didn't really know what was going on at age 15, but did you?
Yeah, school was kind of missed out there. We tolerated school a little bit, but we did enjoy playing with basketball, baseball especially. As we were reasonably good at both of those things, but school was okay.
And what is your family life like today?
Family is, I have 2 children. They're both grown up, obviously. They both have 3 kids, and so I have grandkids that are alive and well, and one is a senior in high school already, so it's pretty cool.
Fantastic. When did you realize you were interested in the history of Bruce Smith? For backstory for the audience members here, Bruce Krinke is very, very involved in the history of Bruce Smith, the only Minnesota Gopher to win the Heisman Trophy. And he's done so much work for Bruce Smith. And so the question is, when did you realize that you had that interest in Bruce?
I came to Faribault in 1966 and knew nothing about Bruce Smith whatsoever. So it took me a while. I think I was about 91, 92 before I joined the Bruce Smith Golf Committee and got involved. So it's probably been that many years, 25 to 27 years that I've been involved. And over the time, we've learned so much more about Bruce Smith. We learned about his family. We've learned about touching base with the University of Minnesota and learning about that. So it's been a lot of fun, good interest in the part of the history part of Heisman Trophy and so on.
After high school and after living on the farm, where did you go for higher education?
Went to 1 year at Mankato State University, but then it took a couple of years and Uncle Sam said, come work for us. And we did that for a couple of years and not very lucrative. It pays about what you guys get paid right now.
Not a lot.
Well,
That's okay.
I got paid $78 a month. So it was not good.
So, like, I'm sure they've probably picked up by now, you work in FCTV right now. What was your first job in television, and how was that?
Well, my first job coming to Faribault was in radio. So I had some radio experience and interviewing people like you guys do. And so the FCTV guy or change was gradual to find out that now I have to talk to somebody in the camera, not only the interview. Radio, you don't have to worry about dressing up, making sure you look presentable. So it's a nice change, but I enjoyed doing the interview part, and it makes it much more fun, even if there's lights and cameras.
All right, now we're going to talk about FCTV itself for a little bit. When did you get to where you are now in FCTV, and why did that happen?
I started about 13 or 14 years ago. I don't really remember how many years I've been doing this. And it started out gradually. We've had 4 videographers over the years that have helped us do programming, plus the 2 gentlemen that are here today. And they provide programming for us in a variety of reasons, be it a ball game that we're recording, a concert recording, or doing one-on-one interviews with whomever we might be doing, a governor of the MP in Minnesota or whoever it might be. So we've enjoyed not just celebrity interviews, but celebrity Faribault interviews, and that's been the important part. So
What are some of the main goals of FCTV?
showcasing Faribault. We enjoy showcasing Faribault like 1855 does. We enjoy saying, this is what Faribault is about. These are the important people of Faribault. These are people that are providing a lot for Faribault, that they can show more history, show the fun parts of it, and just enjoy Faribault.
What kind of challenges does the FCTV face?
Challenges, probably, we could always use more money. Like anybody that has a project where nonprofit, we do get money, very good assistance from the city of Faribault, from franchise fees that come from Hickory Tech and the other provider. And then we do get a few sponsors that help us out. Our budget's $75,000, so it's not a lot, but we do the best we can with the money we had.
What are some of the benefits to Faribault of FCTV?
I think they're pretty substantial. The City Council and Planning Commission do live programs, and we rebroadcast them as they're recorded. Same thing with the school board. They do live programs, so we can do that. Providing the grandmas and grandpas that can't get out, maybe your moms and dads, for programming that's they normally wouldn't see. Maybe it'd be a Heritage Days parade or a meeting that they can look at at some other time. Plus, we put stuff online so they have a chance to see things on their time if they have a computer. So it works out pretty well.
What is a current project that the FCTV is taking on?
I don't know if it's right now this fall, we're working on election time. It's coming up election time. We have recorded some candidates for mayor, city council, school board, and legislative candidates that'll be played in the next month or so going up to election time. It'll be extensive. The fall time is sports time. And we do some sports, both at Bethel Academy and the high school. We'll be busy.
And now we're going to move on to talking about 1855. How reluctant I am to talk about 1855, but now, had you had any kind of relationship or previous work with either of us before you worked with us on the Bruce Smith episode?
The only opportunity to know your partner would be to give him a ride home from school once in a while.
And in the interview that you did with us for the Bruce Smith episode, could you describe what that was like? What was the process for that?
We did it at the Faribault Senior High School, which is an apropos place. That's where Bruce Smith went to school, not in the current configuration, but it was an old school. Enjoyable because you guys had done your homework. You had asked questions that were able for me to answer, but you obviously had shown that you had done a lot of history research, and so I really appreciated that. So.
And what role has FCTV played with 1855 since that first interview?
I don't know how many stories that you've done. You said how many stories you've done, but to be able to put them out there, and we've rerun stories and be it Liz Strophus or the Pluckenstein one, great stories about Faribault people, and showing that to people. And I know the people watch them online as well. So.
Now an easy one. Which one of us do you like more? And also keep in mind, I'm closer to you than him.
I'll pass on that one.
Oh, shucks. Now, if someone wanted to go into a line of work involving history or television, what advice would you give them?
First of all, you have to have a lot of passion for it. I mean, it's passion for history of Faribault or passion for history of something. Not many people, I think, have the passion that you gentlemen do, having it as 15-year-olds to say, we want to do the research. Research is not very much fun, probably, for most people. In other words, you want to spend how many hours saying, we have to be able to tell the story with the knowledge and not just do a little stuff. You guys have gone into more research than what most 15-year-olds do, I think. So do your research, and then have somebody that's got all these equipment that you can use and spend the money on helping out and give you transportation. That's pretty unique, pretty special.
All right. Well, this has been a little look into the sneak peek of how we set up interviews, how we do them. Let's hear for Bruce Krinke, everybody.
We did the same thing for the Bruce Smith one, and that is, they came in. I didn't know what we were going to do. We were going to set up in that media center, I guess it was, or in the lounge in the school. And they come with all this other stuff. We're trying to Troy, and I knew this stuff. Troy doesn't bring this stuff. We don't have this stuff, but these guys do. So they're saying, we want to make it look good. We want to do history of Faribault, and we want to make it look good, and we want to make it good so people can look at it forever, not just today, tomorrow, and another week from now, but it'll archive, so it's going to be out there. And so these stories that they will do in the next 3 or 4 years, and hopefully they can continue in some way, and there'll be lots of money that they can do all these stories and get paid and help out moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, and they'll be retired. I want to try to work for me for one,
All right.
and Sam as well.
Well, this has been a little look into the sneak peek of how we set up interviews, how we do them. Let's hear for Bruce Krinke, everybody.
Bruce Krinke was always a pleasure to be around. He was a genuinely warm man, and he cared deeply about his community, about local history, and the people around him could see that. Bruce passed away on September 1st, 2021. Faribault's going to miss him.